Hey guys, Punit here from Khoj. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you the harmonic analysis for this really amazing and quite complex composition by AR Rahman sir from his recently released movie named 99 Songs. So I have done a guitar lesson for this already, and if you haven't checked that out, you can check it out in the link in the description box below the video. It's a really cool composition, and there are lots of things to learn as musicians, especially for those who are interested in composing their own music. So just a quick word before we actually get into the lesson. First, I would like to say that I've done quite a few other videos of this type, and I've made a playlist of that called as Harmonic Analysis. So that is a series. Again, the link is in the description box below the video. Second thing is that I have my own online courses which are available for a very reasonable rate, where I cover a lot of the concepts that are being discussed here. So if you wish to learn those right from the start, step by step, I teach that. So please do contact me on Instagram or Facebook. The link is there in the description box below the video and you can contact me. So now without further ado, let's get straight to the analysis. So Sofia is actually in the key of F played with a capo in the C position. So all the chords are actually C, and in my performance also I have played it starting with C. So I'll be discussing in this key also because it is a little easier to analyze in the key of C since we are more familiar with it. So the way I've done this is I'll be dividing it into two parts. Part 1 is the part till the guitar solo, and part 2 will be the part after that because they are in two different keys. So it's really different analysis that will be applied to the two parts. So now the first order of things whenever you analyze any musical piece is to find the tone center or the root note. So in part 1 of the song, the most common note to which everything is resolving, and most of the tunes are starting on the C major chord, and note wise when you listen to the melody, everything seems to resolve very nicely to the C note. So the C note is the tone center or the home base for this song. So that is the first step. Second step is to write down all the notes in the C major scale. So the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I hope most of you all know that. And when we harmonize this scale, that is we make chords out of this, the one chord will be the C major, 2 and 3 will be D minor, E minor, 4 and 5 will be F major, G major, 6 chord is A minor, and 7 chord actually is B diminished. But here in this song, what they have done is instead of using B diminished, which is a very tense sound, they have replaced it with this very cool G over B chord, which is basically a G major but with B in the bass. So you get the 7th note, that is a B in the bass, and you're actually playing a more pleasant sounding chord, which is the G over B. So these are the 7 chords which are diatonic to the C major scale. So now let's start analyzing. Let's look at the first progression. C major, G major. So यूं ही जो तुम बाहों में आए तो याद आए खुदा. So now looking at the first progression, the chords are C major, G major and D minor 7. So at face value it looks like that it's the 1 chord, 5 chord and the 2 chord, the 7th extension of the 2 chord, which is D minor. It looks like these are the basic diatonic chords which have been used, means just chords within the 7 chords that we are using over here. But when you analyze the melody has got an X factor in it, is that the vocalist sings like this, यूं ही जो तुम बाहों में आ. So there is this F sharp note in the melody, which F sharp is not there in this C major scale. There is actually an F. So where does this F sharp note come from? F sharp comes from a mode of C major which is known as C Lydian scale. So the C Lydian scale is C, D, E, F sharp, this F sharp note, G, A, B, C. So they have used that. And then when it comes to D minor 7, it comes back to C major. So the first example is actually a borrowed progression from a C Lydian scale, and then it comes back into C major scale, which is our home base for the rest of the parts. So progression number 2 is pretty cool. So progression number 2 is मेरे नाम का है सोफिया, अर्थ क्या तू बता. So this is C major going to G over B, going to A minus 7, F, G sus 4 to G. So most of the chords, you know, they are all diatonic out of the 7 chords that we have written. So the first chord is the 1, C major is the 1, G over B is our 7 chord, going to the 6th chord, going to the F, which is the 4 chord, and then he goes to the G, but while going to the G, he passes through a G sus4 chord. So this G sus4 chord, I have written the notes at the bottom section of the board. That is, G sus4 has got notes G, D and C, and that is resolving to the G major where the notes are G, D and B. So basically just one note is moving C to B, and this is a very classical cadence in music from the sus4 going to the parent major, and it creates a very nice resolution effect. So it's just a way of delaying reaching the G chord, in this case the 5 chord, by adding the 5 sus4 before the 5 chord. It's a very beautiful sound as well, and it's used a lot in music, and it's just sounds very nice. Just listen to this. This is G sus4, like that. Then the next progression is the progression number 3. Na 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 ka hai Sofia, na 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 na. So in this progression, the first chord is the F chord, which is the 4 chord, going to the 5 chord, then going to this, ultimately is going to A minor 7, but A minor 7, which is a 6 chord, but before that he uses an E7. The reason for using this E7 is it's called as a secondary dominant chord. So what it means is that it's a dominant chord, that is, it's a 7 chord, but it's not the primary dominant. In C major scale, the primary dominant is the 5 chord and the 7 extension of that. So G7 is your primary dominant, which has all the notes which are within the scale. But this E7 has a G sharp note, which is not there in the scale of C major. So where does this come from? So this is this uses this concept of secondary dominant, where E7 goes to the A minor 7, and it is known as a 5-7 to the 6th chord. That is a dominant chord to the A minor 7, since A minor 7 is a 6th chord. So E7 to A minor 7 is a perfect example of perfect cadence. It's a very natural sound, 5-1. So again, all these concepts have been discussed in my course. So F, G, E7 going to A minor 7 is basically just, E7 is just an added chord before A minor 7 to create some tension. It's known as a secondary dominant chord. And then it goes to the, after A minor 7, it goes to again G sus4, which we have analyzed before, and then it goes to the F. So that E7 is the special chord over there. Then in progression number 4, this is again a very cool addition to this progression. The rest of the progression we know: C major going to G over B, going to A minor 7, going to G, is basically a descending bass line, C, B, A, G, and these are all diatonic chords, 1 going to the 7, going to 6, going to 5, and then it's a very beautiful G sharp. That triangle sign is a major 7 chord. So it's a G sharp major 7 going to G sus4, going to G. G sus4 to G we have already analyzed. So where does this very cool sounding G sharp major 7 come from? So it actually comes from the parallel key of C major, which is a C minor scale, and G sharp, or its major 7 extension, that is a G sharp major 7, is actually the 6th chord in a C minor scale. So it's known as a borrowed chord. So we are using this G sharp major 7 to create some very nice effects out of the scale, and then we come back into the C major scale using the G sus4 to the G. So in progression number 4, this G sharp major 7 chord is considered as a borrowed chord. Then after that, progressions number 5, 6 and 7 are all using diatonic chords. So you can just listen to the performance part and you'll come to know these are very simple, straightforward. There's nothing difficult in this. All of these are within the scale of C major. Now moving to part 2, after the guitar solo, it does a very cool shift to F minor key, which is known as a modulation. Modulation is basically a change in the tone center. So earlier we had C as our tone center, that shifts to F minor. So let's first look at the F minor keys and their variants that have been used in this section. So I've written them on the left hand side bottom corner. and on the right side, the column that I've drawn is the chords for those same scales. So the first scale is the F minor or the F natural minor, also known as the F Aeolian scale. So here the notes are F, G, G sharp, A sharp, C, C sharp, D sharp, and F, back to F. And this scale has a cousin which is known as the F harmonic minor, in which all the notes are the same except for the D sharp note, which is the 7th note, which is made sharp 7. That is, in this case, D sharp will become E. So a harmonic minor is same as the natural minor except having E note instead of the D sharp note. And the third variation that is used is the F Dorian scale, and F Dorian is basically all the notes are same as the F natural minor except for the 6th note, which is the C sharp, which becomes sharp 6, which is the D note in this case. So notes of F Dorian and F minor are same except for the 6th note. So basically these harmonic minor and Dorian are used as small variations to create some nice effects in the melody. So let's look at the chords now. For F minor scale, on the right side you can see these. The first chord is F minor, second chord is G diminished, that circle is G diminished and that's not used, so let's not talk about it. Then the third chord is used a lot, which is the G sharp major, and fourth chord is the A sharp minor, which is again used in this. Fifth chord in natural minor is a C minor, but they have used the C major here, which is basically derived from the harmonic minor scale of F, because it has the E note. C major has note C, E and G, whereas C minor has C, D sharp and G. So that E note actually comes from the F harmonic minor. Then we have C sharp major, D sharp major and F minor. So these are the 6, 7 chord, and then we are back to F minor, which is the 1 chord. So these are the chords for F minor and F harmonic minor. Now F Dorian scale has got changes in 2 places. One is the 2 chord. So the 2 chord instead of G diminished becomes G minor because of the D note being changed. And the 4 chord, that is the A sharp minor, becomes A sharp major. So these are the new chords that we can use instead of the plain and bland sounding chords of the F natural minor. And in this section of the song, they have used 7th extensions of all these chords. So when we harmonize these chords as per the scales, we will get the 7th that have been used in this in the song section. So let's start off with the first progression. It is Teri aankhon ke resho mein asaro mein sara jahan. This is F minor 7 going to G sharp major 7. Then again F minor 7 going to G sharp major 7, but there is a passing chord which is a G sharp dominant chord. So here the chords F minor and G sharp major 7 are diatonic to the F minor scale that we have just discussed. They are the 1 chord and the 3 chord. And G sharp 7 is just used as a passing chord to go from F minor to G sharp major 7. Then in the second part, it goes to the G minor 7. This is G minor 7 going to A sharp minor. Sorry, I've written minor 7 by mistake. It is minor going to C dominant 7 or just C7. So here the G minor chord is the 2 chord of the F Dorian scale. It's a borrowed chord from the Dorian. A sharp minor is again a chord from the minor scale, and C7 is borrowed from the harmonic minor scale of F. So G minor 7 and C7 can be analyzed in that way. You can also use another scale which is known as the F melodic minor. Even these notes, that is the sharp 6 and the sharp 7 of F, that is the D note and the E note, are found in F melodic minor. So these chords can also be analyzed as being from F melodic minor scale. Then the third progression is F minor 7, G sharp major 7 going to A sharp dominant 7. So this the first and the second chord, we know they are the 1 chord and the 3 chord of the F minor. The A sharp dominant 7 comes from the F Dorian scale because it has the D note in it. A sharp 7 has the D note, whereas the note that we have in F minor is a C sharp. So again, this is the use of modal interchange with the F Dorian scale, and then it comes back to na 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 na. So again, this is very cool. So what we have done is we are modulating back to the C major scale here. We had gone from C to F minor. We played in F minor and now we are going back to C major. So the way that they're doing that is after the G sharp major 7, they're using G suspended 4, going to G, going to F, going to C. And this progression, progression number 4, we have already seen in the previous part, in part 1 before. Then the part after this repeats, and then right at the end you have this very cool rock part which goes like Sofia, 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 तेरे नाम का है Sofia, अर्थ क्या तू बता. This part, that is the last 5th progression, and this is basically just using the chords from C major only. These are all the chords diatonic to C major which we had seen in part 1. Just that they have reharmonized the melody, means the melody is the same, but the chords that they are using are substituted for the original chords, which were C going to G over B, that progression, the progression number 2, which we had learnt in the previous part, that has been reharmonized using melody notes. So for example, in the case of the first chord, the note is the C melody note. For the C melody note, there was C major chord in the part 1. Now they have used the F major chord to substitute that because the F major also has a C note. So like that you can analyze all of these chords in this section. So it's a very simple but very effective reharmonization, and you are using all diatonic chords over here. That is all the chords in the C major scale. So these are all the concepts that have been used in the song. Some really great ideas. So in part 1 what we had seen was it was started with C Lydian, then goes to C major. Then it uses most chords diatonic to C major except for in 2 places where it uses a secondary dominant E7, and then it uses a G sharp major 7 borrowed from the C minor chord. Then after that till the solo there are all diatonic chords. After the solo it modulates into F minor scale, and it uses variations from the F harmonic minor and the F Dorian scale to add some color to the F minor scale, and then it comes back to the C major scale. And then the last progression is a reharmonization of the main hook of the song, and here we have used different chords for the same melody to create a nice effect. So these are some of the very cool ideas that have been used in the song. It's definitely not a beginner level song, and a lot of advanced things. So again, if you want to learn all the basics that have been used in this song and in this composition, all the concepts have been covered in my course. Please do reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook.